Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs? Welcome to the middle of Week 6 content. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. He is currently frantically trying to find a wide receiver start of the week because he didn't like mine.
I just, I wouldn't go as far as I didn't like it. But
You didn't like it.
Yeah, okay.
He's like, okay, fine. But anyway, yeah, we got starts and sits for Week 6 on this episode. We're going to try to keep it, I feel like our Thursday, Friday shows are usually 25 to 30 minutes long, whereas our Monday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday shows are like long. But anyway, so we got starts and sits for this week. Check our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Any social media platforms will do. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, be sure to leave a review, share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notices, and then like and comment down below starts and sit questions that you have for this week. Okay, Rick. All right.
Yeah, you see it?
I do see it. Who's he playing?
Hold on.
Tisk. Should be interesting to talk about this guy. We got 3 guys on the road in our starts list.
Yeah, that's
Not too.
great.
We told you to start Hunter Henry last week, though, so hopefully that was a good time.
I think we also said Marvin Jones last week. Huh? You got one catch.
Suck an egg, bro.
I'm just saying we're good, but, we have our misses.
Yeah. So anyway, so we'll start. Well, last week we did it. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. So
I'm surprised you remember that.
That's the way we're going to go. I am surprised I remembered that as well. I had a very stimulating day when it comes to my mind. Worked hard. So I feel like I'm remembering more. Literally 2 days ago, I was in the middle of my living room, and I woke up after sleeping for like 9 hours, and I was still tired because I slept. I was, watching postseason baseball all weekend, didn't sleep at all. It's one of those things. You have a team you root for, right? And the game goes on real late, and then it's a real close game, and then they win, and you're like on Twitter reading all the responses, watching the highlights from the game. You're just all jazzed up, and you can't fall asleep for 2 hours.
Yep, that's exactly how it works.
I can't do it. So I'm like, I've been watching postseason baseball, jazzed up. 2 really late games went into extra innings and just whatever, stupid stuff. No one is interested in baseball besides me.
I mean, I've been watching.
Okay, good.
I've been watching.
Yeah, but anyway,
I watched. Yeah,
I do that football too. So every single, especially when my fantasy matchups happen, then I'm jazzed for like 5 hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You get a win or a loss, and then I'm sitting there in bed going, "Why do I keep losing? What is this?"
I know.
And you're wondering about life itself.
Yep.
But anyway, all that to say, I do remember what we did last week. So we'll do the quarterbacks and move on from there. Ready to get started, Rick?
Yeah.
All right. So at quarterback, we're going to tell you to start Joe Burrow at Detroit. I can't remember if we told you to start him last week.
I think we did, actually.
We might have done that, but let's just ride the train and continue.
Whatever.
Did I just put people twice on this list?
It's fine.
Whatever. Multiple people, too, before you remove the other guy. But yeah, so Joe Burrow he had an interesting start to the season, like we said last week, 18, 13, 18. And then he had 22 and 20 against Green Bay. Against Detroit, it is an easier matchup. And it looks like the Bengals offense is starting to become more efficient as the season goes along. They're starting to look better. So I think for me, this is, a good start against Detroit. They're just coming off a game where they gave up 40. Oh, that was not this week. I'm sorry. Wrong team. Wrong matchup.
They actually played decent this week, but I don't remember who they played. The Vikings. They did okay against the Vikings, actually.
Kirk Cousins had a bad game, though, I believe.
Yeah. I mean,
whatever.
To be honest, I would rather have Joe Burrow than Kirk Cousins. But,
yeah, that's fair. But yeah, no, Joe Burrow, we talked about how he hasn't been providing much rushing upside, and that's what's limiting his passing ceiling in fantasy football at this point. I spent the first overall pick 2 years ago in a rookie draft to get this guy, so hopefully he starts running a little bit more.
Well, you can't really expect that right now.
Who did he play this past week? It was Rodgers. Dude, that guy is such a clown.
Aaron Rodgers?
He almost loses to the Bengals, and the only reason why he did is because his kicker, who missed 17 field goals, bails him out at the end, and then he has the audacity to go up to Joe Burrow at the end of the game and give him advice on how to slide. The kid almost beat you. You freaking suck an egg, bro.
Did you watch the game though at all?
Oh, I watched pieces of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. It was on the Sunday Ticket quad cam. So.
It was 4 missed field goals in overtime and the end of regulation.
Mason Crosby, what a legend.
To be fair, Burrow kind of did throw the game away because they had ball first and then he threw a pick on like the first pass in overtime.
Joe, what the heck, man?
So
anyway,
but he played good up to that point.
Yeah, I mean, without the 2 interceptions, he has 24 fantasy points. If that means anything.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, I think you should start him this week against Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very easy matchup. Seems like they are throwing the ball more last 2 weeks. He's before the game against Jacksonville, first 3 weeks of the season, they only threw the ball. I mean, Burrow only threw the ball over 30 times once. He threw it 30 exact, and then he had 27-18. The last 2 weeks, he had 32, and then 38 last week against Green Bay. That wasn't overtime, but still. I think against Detroit, he throws the ball 30 times. He's efficient with it. Throws the ball down the field. He's going to put up decent numbers. He's not someone who's getting you 40 fantasy points because of his rushing at this point. But, yeah, I think he's in line for another 20-point week against Detroit.
Okay, sounds good. Quarterback sit of the week is Ryan Tannehill. This I don't know what's going on with Tennessee's offense. I don't know if it has something to do with they had 2 years ago when Derrick Henry had his first really good season. I can't remember. They had, what's his name? Is the head coach of the Green Bay Packers?
Matt LaFleur, yeah.
Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator.
That was his breakout season for Derrick Henry.
Okay, yeah. And then he left, went to Green Bay, and then they had Arthur Smith take over, and they were probably better offensively than they were under the other guy. He goes to Atlanta, and now they have... I think he was a special teams coordinator or the running backs coach. I can't remember. But they have this new guy in, and the only thing that they do really is hand it off to Derrick Henry, and the offense has been pretty much garbage. Outside of Derrick Henry rushing a lot very well. Tannehill, who was a good fantasy quarterback the last couple years and a guy that we told you to draft in the 10th round over and over and over again, has not started the season well.
Yeah.
13, 23, 18, 13, and now he has one of the most difficult pass defenses that he is going to play on the season. They have shut teams down. They've shut out teams twice this year. So unless they walk in there and they have a crap game against Tennessee, I think it's going to be a tough week for Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. It kind of feels like what he did against week 1 against Arizona. A touchdown, a pick, and he gets like 14, 15 fantasy points again, which is just not great. I mean, he's the QB 21 right now, which is crazy because last year he was like the QB 7. The year before that, he was like QB 3 or something like that. Like he's been very good, and they haven't really changed too much. It's just, if anything, their offense supposedly was supposed to get better with Julio Jones instead of Corey Davis, but it's been worse. It's been much worse. And from what I've seen of the Titans, you're right. They do just run the ball, but Tannehill has not been good himself. And he also has not been throwing the ball, I feel like, down the field enough. Like he has like one deep ball to AJ Brown, and that was it. Like, and he's throwing a bunch of stuff underneath. Like he's not, I don't know. He doesn't look like he's playing well, especially compared to what he has the last. He
doesn't look comfortable for whatever reason.
Yeah, he doesn't look comfortable. It might just be because of the new offense, but yeah, I mean, he hasn't looked good. And against Buffalo, it's like, why start him in a game against a good defense like that?
Yeah, it's getting tough for him. So definitely, I would sit him. Is he worth cutting at this point? Just altogether drop
in a 1 QB league. It probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. Let's move to the running backs. Running back, that we think you should start, a running back that we think you should start this week is Javonte Williams. Is it the first time he breaks this list?
I think so.
That's exciting.
He might have been a sit again earlier in the season when he played like the Ravens or something.
But he's on the start list now, so
yeah,
moving up in the world.
Stat him.
He is starting to become more efficient. Scratch that. He is more efficient than Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, he is.
Not starting to. He is. At some point this year, there is going to be a shift from Melvin Gordon to Javonte Williams.
They've kind of been split. Although I guess Melvin had a higher snap percentage this past week. So, yeah.
But there's a good chance that this could be a week where he gets a higher snap percentage and they start to give him more opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting basically, when you go look at like Chase Edmonds' numbers, right? And sneak peek. But when you look at his numbers, he gets about, everyone said he was going to get 9 to 12 touches a game, which I was like, that's not true. He gets about 14 to 15. Javonte is really close to that. He's been getting 15, 14, 16, like around that number of touches on a week-to-week basis. The last 2 weeks, he's kind of gone down just a pinch with 10 and 11 touches. And they've like since week 3, they've gotten him involved in the passing game as well, and he's actually been very good in the passing game. So, I think at this point, Javonte, at some point this season, we've talked about how he's going to take over. And against the Raiders, I think it's a really good matchup, but I think this could be a week where they start to shift more towards Javonte Williams, which would be really freaking exciting for me and for a lot of people who have him in Dynasty and redraft. So hopefully that happens. But I think even at the base, like 14 touches, like he's probably against the easy matchup going to put up like 10 to 12 fantasy points, which is a good flex option. So I would start him if you have a multiple flex league in those spots.
Yeah, I mean, you know my feelings on Javonte. I've always liked him. He was my pretty much, he was my 1B to Najee 1A pre-draft. So I've always liked Javonte a lot, and I think so far this season he looks the part. My only concern with him is Melvin Gordon is still there, and it's like we're waiting, like we're waiting for him to be a starter. I hope it happens. But even when he becomes a starter, I don't think like they're not going to just throw Melvin Gordon away. I think it'll be more like 60-40 split. You know, maybe 65-35.
But I mean, if he's getting on 50% snap percentage, if he's getting like 14 touches, he's going to increase to like 18.
Right. Which is the hope, yeah. And this week could very well be the week. And even if it's not, he put up 11 against the Jets in half PPR, 10 this past week against the Steelers. Against the Raiders, even if he only gets like 12 touches, like I think he can get like 12 fantasy points. He's pretty much a point a touch at this point, fantasy point a touch, which is crazy. So yeah, I think he's at least a good flex this week with a high ceiling.
Okay, I agree. Chase Edmonds was the other guy that I was referencing, a little sneak peek. Chase Edmonds at Cleveland is a sit this week. And like I said, early in the season, people were talking about Chase Edmonds and basically saying that he is, at this point, like a guy that's only going to get like 12 touches a game. And I was like, I mean, yeah, there's a chance that might happen, but I think the projection of 9 to 10, 9 to 11, 9 to 12 touches a game is kind of unfair, especially the way the Arizona runs their offense. So, and he's been averaging about 14 touches a game, 14, 15 touches a game.
It's the receiving work where he gets...
Exactly. Yeah. He's basically doing the same thing he did last year with slightly, a slight uptick.
Very slightly,
in rushing work. Now, the hard part about Chase Edmonds is he's been a good player on the season, 14, 12, 14, 17 in PPR leagues. And then this week against the San Francisco 49ers, he had 10 touches and only had 3 fantasy points, whereas counterpart James Conner scored a touchdown and had 10 fantasy points, something like that, maybe 12.
Tough matchup though too, but yeah.
Tougher matchup, but I look at Chase Edmonds and it's kind of like the big problem that he has is his touchdown upside. James Conner is their goal line back, And
Yep.
he's basically playing the same role that Kenyon Drake played last year with less opportunity on the ground. But I think that when you look at Chase Edmonds, he's going to get you the passing game work. He's going to get you some upside there. But with the way Kyler Murray runs the football and the way he likes to target big-bodied wide receivers in the red zone, there's little chance that Chase Edmonds gets, and the way they give James Conner the ball in the red zone, there's little chance that Chase Edmonds is going to be able to score a lot this year. I would be surprised if he gets over 3 touchdowns rushing on the season. So that kind of limits his ceiling. And when he has these bad matchups, especially against Cleveland, it makes him a very hard start.
Yeah, that's the thing. I do think Edmonds is decent, and he's going to have some good weeks. I mean, he's got to get a receiving touchdown at least eventually in one of these weeks. But yeah, he's not going to get much on the ground because of James Conner in terms of goal line work. This week is just a really bad matchup too. Cleveland's been very good. Although Eckler did have a monster week, but that is the Chargers. So the Browns' defense has been, other than last week, very good. So we'll see how it goes. I think Edmonds, though, I'm not starting him this week, but going forward, he's still a good play. Like against Houston, against the Seahawks later in the season, like he has some good matchups still, but he's kind of sort of like iffy, week to week. I don't know what you're going to get out of him. And against Cleveland, doesn't seem like a great matchup, so I wouldn't start him.
Okay, I agree. Tell me why you have Brandon Cooks as a start this week.
Yeah, so Brandon Cooks has been fantastic all season. They lost 40-0 against the Bills, and he still did okay considering Davis Mills, I think, had I want to say 15 completions, and 5 of them went to Brandon Cooks. So I actually want to confirm that. Yeah, he had 11 completions against the Bills. 5 of them went to Brandon Cooks. So he actually, even though fantasy points wise wasn't a great week, but he had a decent week against the Bills, just considering his situation.
Right.
And then this past week against New England, he did not have a good week. But that is because Bill Belichick does one thing. Well, he does a lot of things well, but one of the things he does well the most is taking away the other team's best player. And their focus was clearly Brandon Cooks. Yeah, they were double teaming him at times. They were putting J.C. Jackson did a good job on him. Their clear focus was to stop Brandon Cooks, and they did that. So this week against the Colts, I don't think the Colts are going to play like that against Cooks, and I think he's going to go back to getting his massive target share, where he gets at minimum 7 and then at most 14, where he's clearly the number one guy. And the Colts defense has been up and down, and more down than up. I mean, Jacoby Brissett did a good job against him for the most part.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson torched him. Matt Stafford torched him. Even the Titans, who have stunk on offense this year, did at least a decent job. They scored 25 points, had almost 400 yards. And then the Ravens this week, even though it took them until the fourth quarter, absolutely torched them in the fourth quarter. And Hollywood Brown had 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So I think Brandon Cooks has a week similar to Hollywood Brown. I'm not saying he's going to get 2 touchdowns, but in terms of just having good production and a high target share. So, yeah, I think Brandon Cooks bounces back in a big way this week.
I agree. The Indianapolis matchup's really good for him. I think it's a good bounce back week for him. What we need to see is, the target share was large for Brandon Cooks when Tyrod Taylor was there. That Davis Mills game, I think he started against Carolina. And targeted Brandon Cooks a lot in that game, but since then he really hasn't. So
I think it was really just this week where he didn't, and I'm gonna blame that on Bill Belichick.
Okay, that's fair.
Because, like I said, Davis Mills only had 20 passing attempts, and Cooks had 7 of those 20.
No, and I think he is the guy that is going to get targeted in that passing game because there's literally no one else there. But I would agree to start him this week. Just I don't know how much Houston's going to score, so that kind of caps the ceiling a little bit. But anyway, let's move on to our sit wide receiver, which is Robbie Anderson.
At this point, are you really even starting?
I know he was kind of a fad wide receiver last year. A lot of people were hyped up on him because coming into the year, now you get Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has played with him before, but I don't know. Last time I checked, Sam Darnold, when he played with him on the Jets, really Bobby Anderson wasn't good.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, maybe that is the reason why Robbie Anderson. Maybe he doesn't like to target Robbie Anderson because Robbie Anderson really isn't that great a wide receiver.
Reminds him of the Jets.
It reminds him of the Jets. So he just goes far away from him and targets DJ Moore 75 times a game.
Yeah.
But the last 2 weeks, you have seen a little bit of an increase in target share for Robbie Anderson. He had 9, and then he had 5 against a tough pass defense. I think at this point, he has to sit until you find out whether or not he's going to be good long term. Because if he goes out this week against Minnesota and has a great week, that's awesome. Don't add us on Twitter and be like, bro, why did you tell me to sit him? And it's just because he hasn't shown that he can produce fantasy wise at all this season and have PPR and PPR leagues. And if he hasn't been able to show that he's been able to, that he can produce, then there's no reason to question whether or not he should be on your lineup. So for me, at this point, even though Minnesota's kind of like a mediocre matchup, I would say sit Robbie Anderson because we have to wait and see with his production. Like if he's not going to produce, then you don't want to find out with him in your starting lineup. I'd rather find out that he can produce sitting on my bench than start him and find out he can't and score 3 points in a week that I'm trying to win.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, but again, like I said, at this point, I think he's probably droppable in most leagues.
Okay. Fair enough. So. Let's move to unless you have anything more to say on that.
No, that's it. He's just droppable.
You sounded like you had something else.
I'm done with Robbie Anderson, that's all.
He's given up. Let's do the tight ends quickly, and then we can complete the show. Tight end Tyler Higbee is a start this week. He actually had a decent week last week. I believe it was 8 points in half PPR, 10 in, let me just pull it up, in PPR. Yeah, 9 in PPR. He only had 2 catches, though. One was a touchdown. He has had like games where he gets 5-6 targets, and then he's had games where he gets like 1. And I'm sorry if this doesn't work. I really am.
Is it just good matchup?
It's a good matchup. So I would say against the Giants, this is a really good matchup. This is going to be a situation where
probably will get another touchdown again.
That's what I was going to say is the Rams are going to get in the red zone a lot, and there's going to be opportunities for Tyler Higbee to get open in the red zone and maybe possibly score. Hopefully they give him a 6 to 7 target share in the game, because if they do, then I think he can do more with it than just a touchdown. But I think at this point he's going to need that touchdown. But I would start him this week because he does have a good matchup. And if you drafted Tyler Higbee, you probably don't have another tight end unless you picked up Dawson Knox. So I would say start Higbee and hope for the best.
Hey, I'm in a league without you, so you can answer this honestly. Would you start Higbee or Hunter Henry this week?
I would start Hunter Henry.
I'm leaning Hunter Henry.
It's like, if I haven't done my rankings yet, but I would probably put Hunter Henry like one spot ahead of Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too.
Like you're going either. But see, here's the thing, is that where I think Tyler Higbee could honestly get 2 targets this week. Hunter Henry gets 5 or 6 targets a week.
He does. He might not get a touchdown. He might
not get a touchdown, considering New England throws like 1 a week, which is still on pace for more passing touchdowns than Cam Newton threw last year. It's all Cam insane. Newton stands. Anyway, but I would start Tyler Higbee. Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. Against the Giants, it's a good match. It's a good match.
What about Bob Tanyan? You sitting him?
Yeah, he's kind of. Dare I say droppable in redraft?
Might be.
Yeah, I mean, I was willing to give him 1 more week because, yes, he stunk against Pittsburgh, but he had 7 targets. So I was like, well, let's just see. And then he had 1 catch for 8 yards. So, but I will say, whenever
where does Rodgers throw the ball?
Davante Adams.
40 passes a game, 45 targets to Davante Adams.
Yeah, he literally Adams gets like 13 targets a game, and then the running backs get like 10, and I don't know where the rest goes.
Wow. There's like 7 or 8 targets left.
Yeah.
And one goes to Bob Tanyan.
Yeah. I will say whenever you completely count Tanyan out, he'll get like a 20-point week. But yeah, I think he's droppable at this point. You have 3 straight weeks with 1 point.
I didn't give you a second round pick for him.
Yeah. Well,
sorry. You tried.
Sorry, I have enough seconds. I have 3 seconds. I already have your second round pick.
Yeah, I traded it for Taysom Hill.
Imagine 2 seconds for Taysom Hill.
I figured I'd take the risk and like pretend I was trading a second round pick for a starting quarterback. So if Jameis Winston didn't start,
yeah. Plus, the moment if Winston has like 2 bad weeks in a row, they're gonna start Taysom Hill.
Oh yeah.
Sean Payton just loves Taysom Hill. So.
Even though that's probably the worst decision he would ever make. Taysom Hill's 1 year older than Jameis Winston, by the way.
I know that's so disgusting.
But either way, I agree with Rick. Bob Tanyan might be, as much as I love him, droppable at this point. His snap percentages have been weird this season, like 49, 43, 73, 78, 59.
I don't know why.
What the hell's going on?
I have no idea.
So, but the snap percentages have increased over the last couple of weeks. He might have been dealing with an injury. He's questionable this week, so there might be an issue there. He's also had a really difficult start to the season in terms of matchups. So
that doesn't change this week.
It doesn't change this week at all. So against Chicago, you got to sit him. Easy decision.
Who knows? Maybe week 7 he goes out and gets 25 points, but this week,
yeah. So anyway, sit Bob Tanyan. There you go. Week 6 is snafu'd right into the books for starts and sits, at least. We have one more show. It's trade targets on Friday. Should be an interesting show. We got a lot of trade targets in that show. So be sure to listen and then enjoy Thursday Night Football.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.